You know what keeps me up at night? The fact that right now, as you're watching this video, someone in your life is probably using psychological manipulation tactics on you, and you have absolutely no idea it's happening. And here's the crazy part. Once you learn what I'm about to share with you today, you won't be able to unseen it. You'll start noticing these tricks everywhere. In your relationships, at work, even in casual conversations with friends. So if you're not ready to have your eyes opened to how people are secretly influencing your decisions and emotions, you might want to click away now. But if you're ready to protect yourself and understand the dark side of human psychology, then buckle up, because these 6 psychological tricks are so powerful, so manipulative, they honestly should be illegal. Let me start with something that happened to me last year. I had this friend, or at least I thought she was a friend, and every single time we'd hang out, I'd leave feeling drained, confused, and somehow like I was the bad guy in situations where I'd done nothing wrong. It took me months to realize what was happening, and when I finally figured it out, I was furious. Not just at her, but at myself for not seeing it sooner. That experience sent me down this rabbit hole of studying manipulation tactics, psychological warfare, and the subtle ways people control others without ever raising their voice or making an obvious threat. And what I discovered genuinely shocked me. So let's dive into the first trick, and this one is probably the most common and the most dangerous. It's called intermittent reinforcement. And if you've ever been in a relationship where someone was hot and cold with you, you've experienced this firsthand. Here's how it works. Someone gives you attention, affection, and validation, but they do it randomly and unpredictably. One day, they're texting you nonstop, calling you beautiful, making you feel like you're the center of their universe. The next day, radio silence. You're left wondering what you did wrong, analyzing every conversation, every text message, driving yourself absolutely crazy, trying to figure out what changed. And here's where the psychology gets really dark. This inconsistency doesn't push you away like you'd think it would. Instead, it makes you more addicted to them. It's the same principle that makes gambling so addictive. You never know when the next win is coming. So you keep playing, keep trying, keep hoping. Your brain releases dopamine when you get that random hit of attention. And because you can't predict when it's coming, you become obsessed with getting the next fix. You start changing your behavior, walking on eggshells, doing everything you can to trigger that positive response from them. I see this all the time in romantic relationships, but it happens in friendships too, and even with family members. Someone withholds their approval, their love, their attention, and then gives it to you in unpredictable bursts. And before you know it, you're completely hooked. You're arranging your entire life around their moods and their availability. The worst part? The person doing this often isn't even fully aware they're doing it. They might have learned this pattern from their own childhood, from their own dysfunctional relationships, and now they're passing it on to you like some kind of emotional virus. If you're in a situation right now where someone's love and attention feels like a slot machine, where you're constantly anxious about when they'll be nice to you again, you need to understand that this isn't love. This is manipulation. And it's destroying your mental health. Real, healthy relationships have consistency. You should never feel like you're constantly auditioning for someone's affection. Now let's talk about the second trick, and this one makes my blood boil because I see it everywhere, especially on social media. It's called negging, and if you've never heard this term before, get ready to recognize it in about 100 different interactions you've had. Negging is when someone gives you a backhanded compliment or a subtle insult disguised as concern or humor. The goal is to lower your self-esteem just enough that you seek their validation and approval. It sounds like this. Wow, you're so confident wearing that. I could never pull off something so bold. Or, you're actually really smart for someone who didn't go to a top university. Or, my personal favorite, I love how you just don't care what people think about you. Every single one of these statements sounds like a compliment on the surface, but there's a tiny poison pill hidden inside. They're making you feel less than, making you question yourself, all while maintaining plausible deniability. If you call them out, they'll act shocked and say, "What? I was giving you a compliment. You're so sensitive." This tactic is incredibly common in the dating world, especially with people who feel insecure and need to bring others down to feel better about themselves. But I've also seen it in workplaces, in friendships, and even from family members who don't want to see you succeed. The psychology behind it is simple but effective. When someone plants a seed of doubt in your mind about yourself, you start looking to them for reassurance. You start trying to prove them wrong, seeking their approval, changing yourself to fit whatever standard they've implied you're not meeting. Here's what you need to understand about nagging. Anyone who needs to make you feel small to feel big is not someone who deserves space in your life. Confident, secure people build others up. They celebrate your wins. They compliment you without conditions. And they never make you feel like you need to earn their respect or admiration. If someone in your life is consistently making comments that sting just a little bit, that's not you being oversensitive. That's them being manipulative. The third trick is one I want you to pay very close attention to, because it's probably the most insidious on this list. It's called gaslighting, and I know this term gets thrown around a lot these days, but real gaslighting is absolutely terrifying when you're experiencing it. Gaslighting is when someone manipulates you into questioning your own reality, your own memory, your own sanity. They deny things they said or did. They twist your words. They make you feel like you're crazy for trusting your own perception of events. I'll give you a real example. You have a conversation with someone where they promise to do something. Let's say pick you up from the airport. The day comes, they don't show up, and when you call them upset, they say, "I never said I would pick you up. You must have misunderstood me. You always do this." You hear what you want to hear. Now you're sitting there questioning yourself, thinking, did I imagine that conversation? Am I really that forgetful? But here's the thing. You're not crazy. That conversation happened. They're just rewriting history to avoid accountability. Gaslighting can escalate to genuinely frightening levels. I've heard stories of people who were gaslit so severely that they started recording their conversations just to prove to themselves that they weren't losing their mind. Imagine living like that. Imagine being so confused about your own reality that you need audio evidence of every interaction just to trust yourself. That's what prolonged gaslighting does to people. The reason gaslighting is so effective is because most of us want to believe the best in people, especially people we love. When someone we trust tells us we're remembering something wrong, our instinct is to doubt ourselves before we doubt them. And that's exactly what they're counting on. They know that if they deny something confidently enough, if they make you feel irrational for trusting your own memory, you'll eventually back down and accept their version of events. If you're in a relationship where you constantly feel confused, where you find yourself apologizing for things you're not even sure you did, where you're starting to doubt your own perception and memory, please listen to me. You are not crazy. You are being manipulated. And the only way out is to trust yourself, document things if you need to, and ultimately remove yourself from that situation, because gaslighting doesn't get better. It only gets worse. Let's move on to the fourth psychological trick, and this one is all about guilt. It's called guilt tripping, and we've all experienced this from someone in our lives. Guilt tripping is when someone manipulates you into doing what they want by making you feel responsible for their emotions, their problems, or their happiness. They turn themselves into the victim and you into the villain if you don't comply with their demands. This shows up in relationships all the time. If you really loved me, you'd do this for me. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? I guess I'm just not important enough to you. Every one of these statements is designed to make you feel so terrible that you give in to whatever they want, even if it's not what's best for you. The manipulation works because most caring, empathetic people don't want others to suffer, and we certainly don't want to be the cause of someone's pain. But here's what they're not telling you. You are not responsible for managing another adult's emotions. You are not responsible for their happiness. You are not a bad person for having boundaries, for saying no, for prioritizing your own well-being. When someone uses guilt to control you, they're essentially saying, "My feelings are more important than yours, and you should sacrifice your needs to meet mine." That's not love. That's not friendship. That's manipulation. I had a family member who was an expert at this. Every time I tried to set a boundary, every time I said no to something that didn't work for me, I'd get the whole performance. The sighs, the guilt-laden comments about how hard life is, how alone they feel, how they guess they'll just have to figure it out themselves. And like clockwork, I'd cave. I'd sacrifice my time, my energy, my peace of mind, because I couldn't stand the guilt. It took years for me to realize that their discomfort with hearing no was not my problem to fix. Your boundaries are not mean. They're necessary. And anyone who responds to your boundaries with guilt trips is showing you exactly who they are. Now we're getting into the fifth trick, and this one is subtle, but so damaging. It's called triangulation, and if you've ever felt like you're in competition with someone else for a person's attention or affection, you've been triangulated. Here's how it works. Someone deliberately creates a triangle between you, them, and a third person. They might constantly compare you to someone else, talk about how wonderful this other person is, or deliberately make you feel jealous and insecure about your place in their life. "Oh, my ex used to do this thing you don't do. My friend from work is so easy to talk to. We never fight like you and I do. I had lunch with so-and-so today. They really get me, you know?" Every single one of these statements is designed to make you feel inadequate, to make you try harder, to make you compete for their attention. It's manipulation, disguised as casual conversation. Triangulation also happens when someone talks badly about you to others, creating drama and division. They'll tell person A one thing, tell person B something completely different, and then sit back and watch the chaos unfold. This keeps them in a position of power because now everyone's focused on the conflict, and no one's noticing that they're the common denominator in all the drama. This tactic is incredibly common in toxic families, in dysfunctional friendships, and in narcissistic relationships. The person using triangulation thrives on the attention and power that comes from keeping people off balance and competing with each other. If you notice that someone in your life is always creating situations where you feel like you need to prove yourself or compete with others for their attention, that's a massive red flag. Healthy relationships don't involve competition. Healthy relationships make you feel secure, valued, and chosen, not like you're constantly auditioning to keep your spot. And now we've arrived at the sixth and final trick. And honestly, this might be the most common one of all. It's called love bombing, and it's the reason so many people get trapped in toxic relationships before they even realize what's happening. Love bombing is when someone overwhelms you with attention, affection, compliments, and grand gestures right at the beginning of a relationship. We're talking constant texting, extravagant gifts, intense declarations of love, future planning after only a few dates. It feels like a fairy tale. It feels like you finally found the one. It feels too good to be true. And here's the thing. It is too good to be true. Love bombing isn't about genuine connection or authentic affection. It's about creating dependency. When someone showers you with this much attention and validation early on, your brain gets flooded with feel-good chemicals. You become addicted to the feeling they give you, and that addiction makes you overlook red flags, excuse bad behavior, and stay in the relationship long after you should have left. Because once the love bombing phase ends, and it always ends, that same person who made you feel like royalty will often turn cold, critical, or even abusive. And because you got so hooked on that initial high, you'll keep trying to get it back. You'll blame yourself for the change, thinking if you just do better or try harder, they'll go back to being the person they were at the start. But here's the hard truth. That person at the beginning wasn't real. It was a performance, a strategy to lock you in. Real love develops gradually. Real love is consistent, not explosive. Real love doesn't make you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster with extreme highs and devastating lows. If someone is moving way too fast, making you the center of their universe immediately, talking about marriage and forever before they even really know you, please pump the brakes. That intensity isn't passion, it's a red flag. Now that we've gone through all 6 of these psychological tricks, I want you to take a moment and really think about your own life. Think about your relationships, your friendships, your family dynamics. Are any of these tactics showing up? And here's an even harder question. Have you ever used any of these tactics yourself? 'Cause here's something I've learned through all my research and personal experience. Hurt people hurt people. Sometimes we learn manipulative behaviors from the people who manipulated us, and we pass them on without even realizing it. If you recognize yourself in any of these descriptions, if you've guilt-tripped someone, or love-bombed a partner, or nagged a friend, this isn't about shame. This is about awareness. The fact that you're watching this video, the fact that you're open to learning about these patterns, means you have the capacity to change. We all have the capacity to do better when we know better. For those of you who are recognizing these tactics being used on you, I want you to hear this clearly. You deserve relationships that feel safe, consistent, and respectful. You deserve people who communicate clearly, who take accountability for their actions, who don't play mind games or manipulate your emotions. And I know it's scary to set boundaries or walk away from people who use these tactics, especially if it's someone you love. But staying in manipulative situations doesn't just hurt in the moment. It changes you. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you anxious. It erodes your self-esteem piece by piece until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The most powerful thing you can do is educate yourself, trust your gut, and remember that you always have the right to walk away from situations and people that make you feel small, confused, or controlled. Your peace of mind is worth more than any relationship. Your mental health is worth more than keeping the peace or avoiding conflict. You are worth more than the way manipulative people make you feel. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. First, if this resonated with you, if you learned something or if you recognized any of these patterns in your own life, hit that like button. It helps more people find this content and protect themselves from manipulation. Second, drop a comment below and let me know which of these 6 tricks surprised you the most, or if there are other manipulation tactics you want me to cover in a future video. And finally, if you're serious about understanding human psychology, building healthier relationships, and protecting yourself from toxic people, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I'm posting videos like this every single week. From there, remember, knowledge is power, but only if you use it. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Take what you've learned, apply it to your life, have those difficult conversations, set those boundaries, and most importantly, start trusting yourself again. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not imagining things. You're just finally seeing clearly. And that clarity, as uncomfortable as it might be right now, is the first step toward freedom. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.